I want you to picture a specific scene to get us started. It's 1934. The Great Depression is in full swing. Unemployment is sky high. Morale is, low.
Right.
And in the middle of a rainstorm, somewhere on a muddy, unpaved road between Rhode Island and Michigan, a car is just skidding along.
Okay.
Inside, you have 4 grown men. One is hobbling on a cane because his legs are cramped. They're all exhausted. They're soaking wet. And they are absolutely ecstatic.
Because they're on a pilgrimage.
Exactly. But not a religious one. They are driving hundreds of miles in a car with no suspension just to see a magic shop.
That image, it really captures the essence of the documents we're looking at today. We have a stack of newsletters called the Linking Ring.
Specifically the issues from early to late 1934. And just to clarify for everyone, the Linking Ring is the official publication, or organ as they call it, of the IBM. And no, we're not talking about the computer giant.
Right, the International Brotherhood of Magicians. In the 1930s, this was a massive global fraternity.
And what stands out in these newsletters isn't just, descriptions of card tricks or how to saw a woman in half.
No, it's the sheer intensity of the community.
That's our mission for this deep dive. We are looking past the abracadabra to figure out who these people actually were.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the politics, the food, so much food, and this fascinating concept they kept repeating.
Being a real sport.
Yes. It's a term that comes up constantly. He was a real sport. It carried a lot of weight back then.
A whole lot of weight.
It did. And I think the best place to start understanding what a real sport looked like is to look at their ambition. Because when I read about the Woonsocket spectacle, I had to double-check the date. This didn't sound like a hobbyist club meeting in the middle of an economic collapse.
No. Ring 44, that was the local chapter in Rhode Island. They were operating on a completely different level.
Right.
Usually a ring meeting is like 10 guys in a living room showing off a coin vanish and smoking cigars. But in January 1934, Ring 44 decided to host a convention in Woonsocket that effectively took over the city.
The documents say they bannered the town, which is just a great verb.
Literally. They had merchants hanging decorations in the streets. They arranged for the visiting magicians to receive a ceremonial key to the city. It was a civic event.
They wanted visibility.
Sure.
But here is where it gets surreal for me. The guest list and the endorsements.
Oh, yeah.
You expect maybe the mayor, right?
Okay.
But the newsletters list endorsements from United States senators, congressmen, and the First Lady.
Mrs. Franklin D. Roosevelt.
How does a local magic club in Rhode Island get an endorsement from Eleanor Roosevelt?
It comes down to how they framed the event. This wasn't just entertainment, it was a charity benefit for the society, for the prevention of cruelty to children.
So they leveraged the good cause angle to get the big names.
Smartly. But it also speaks to their self-image. They didn't see themselves as just guys doing tricks in a basement. Charles L. Burt, who was the agent for that charity, he attended their planning meeting. He called them the very prototype of a fine gentleman.
And that links right back to that real sport idea.
Precisely. To them, being a magician meant you were a benevolent figure. You were bringing wonder to a dark world. There's a line in the text about this convention. The show will go on.
It's such a cliche now, almost a joke.
Yeah.
But in 1934, that was a defiant statement.
Absolutely.
It feels like they were fighting the Depression with showmanship.
Yeah.
We might be broke, but we can still put on a tuxedo and pull a rabbit out of a hat.
That's the psychological key. It offered dignity. The economic reality stripped men of their traditional roles as providers, but inside the ring, inside the tuxedo, they had power.
And speaking of dignity and tuxedos, we have to talk about the superstars of this world.
Yes.
Because reading the Linking Ring, you realize this community was a mix of total amateurs and these legendary globe-trotting figures.
The character that jumped out at me immediately was Uncle John.
John H. Davison, the grand old man of magic.
Yeah.
This guy is fascinating. The source material says he's from Ashaway, Rhode Island. He's retired. But his resume is insane.
I mean, South Africa, the Orient, Europe, every single state in the Union.
He represents the bridge between the golden age of vaudeville magic, which was dying out by the 30s, and this new era of the amateur enthusiast.
He's been everywhere.
But in 1934, he's not sitting on a porch whittling. He is driving those terrible 1930s roads to get to picnics in Massillon, Ohio, or conventions in Batavia, New York.
And when he performs, he doesn't phone it in. I loved the description of his signature act.
The Box of Kwang Hai.
Yeah.
Even the name sounds like a relic of that vaudeville era.
It's a classic production routine. The report says the box is only the size of a small hat box.
Which for the non-magicians is tiny. You can't fit much in a hat box.
Exactly. But from that tiny box, he produces several cages of birds, a bowl of water with live goldfish, and dozens of other articles.
The text says the items threaten to flow off the stage.
Can you just picture that?
It creates such a vivid mental image. You have this veteran, world-weary performer doing this high-level, complex illusion in, like, a high school auditorium for his friends.
It shows the egalitarian nature of the IBM. You have Uncle John, the legend, sharing the bill with the local club president, Lucien C. Sanssouci,
Who I have to mention did an egg trick that sounds just impossible.
the torn and restored card in an egg.
Yeah. He tears a playing card, tears it again, and then cracks open a real egg, which I assume is raw and messy,
Oh, for sure.
and the card is inside, fully restored.
That is a technical nightmare to perform, by the way. Dealing with raw eggs on stage, if that goes wrong, it goes very wrong.
Yeah.
It shows he had serious chops.
And then you have Mysterious Ingram.
Mysterious Ingram, I love that the text highlights his etiquette above his magic.
He's a society magician.
Right. He performed the Hindu wands, which is a standard trick, but the review focuses on how polite he was.
He pleases everyone.
Again, the gentleman aspect. Politeness was a currency.
But it wasn't entirely a boys' club, was it? We see Madame Murney on the bill.
We do, and that's significant. The IBM was overwhelmingly male. It's in the name Brotherhood. But women were present. And Madame Murney wasn't just an assistant standing there looking pretty. She had a solo spot doing paper cutting. She produced a string of rabbits from a single sheet of paper.
Which is charming. But usually when women appear in these newsletters, they're occupying a very specific role.
Oh, yeah. They are the magician's wives. And if you read between the lines of these reports, you realize the wives are the ones actually running the show.
Oh, absolutely. This brings us to the social fabric of these clubs. If there is one thing these guys wrote about with as much passion as the magic tricks, it was the dinner.
It's incredible, isn't it? I've read a lot of newsletters from different organizations, and I've never seen menus described with this much love.
It's not just, we had dinner, it's detailed. Mrs. Sanssouci, the wife of the egg trick guy, baked a cake that the newsletter describes as being frosted in multicolored welcomes.
Frosted in multicolored welcomes. That is just 1930s poetry. You can just visualize it. Probably bright artificial colors, very sweet, very homemade.
It sounds delightful, but then you have the sheer volume of food. There's a report from the Red Rose Ring 51 in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. They had a corn roast.
Is this the Walt Landis story?
Yes. The reporter actually lost count of how much corn this man ate.
How much?
The text says at least 15 ears of corn, plus hamburgers.
Wow. It sounds funny to us now. Someone eating 15 ears of corn is a bit gluttonous. But think about the context again. 1934, food insecurity was a real thing for millions of Americans.
Of course.
These gatherings, potlucks, corn roasts, were an expression of abundance.
It was a feast.
Lunch fit for a king, as they called it. Being part of the Brotherhood meant you didn't just get entertainment, you got fed. You got community support.
So the Magic Club was a place where you could be a gentleman, see a world-class show, and eat until you couldn't move. It was an escape from the Dust Bowl and the breadlines.
It was a sanctuary, and that explains why they were willing to travel such insane distances to be part of it.
We touched on this in the intro with the rainstorm story, but let's dig into the travel aspect. The documents mention members driving from New Orleans to Ohio or Rhode Island to Michigan.
And we have to remember the infrastructure. No interstate highways. The roads were often two-lane blacktops or, gravel. And the cars.
No air conditioning, prone to overheating, tires blowing out constantly.
And they still did it.
They did it. The story about the trip to Colon, Michigan really stands out to me. This was to visit Percy Abbott's new magic studio.
Right. Percy Abbott was a legend in the business. He was opening a new shop in this tiny town in Michigan, which eventually became the magic capital of the world, largely because of him.
But in 1934, it was just a shop in the middle of nowhere.
Right. And a group drove through driving rain to get there for the opening.
And the physical toll. The text mentions Al Caroselli hobbling on a cane because his legs were so cramped from the small car. Another guy had a migraine. They arrived in the wee hours of the morning.
But notice the payoff. The text says they had smiles on their faces.
Yeah.
They weren't there to buy bread or necessities. They were there to buy secrets, to see the new gimmicks. That shared obsession creates a bond that is stronger than just a hobby.
It's a tribe.
It is.
However, you put that many obsessed people in a room or in a newsletter, you're going to get drama. And the linking ring is surprisingly spicy when it comes to internal politics.
It's not all frosted welcomes, is it?
Not at all. There are two flavors of drama here. There's the fun, satirical stuff, and then there's the high crimes and misdemeanors stuff. Let's start with the serious one, the exposure scandal.
This is the cardinal sin of magic, exposing the secrets to the lay public. The Mystic Wand Society in New Brunswick, New Jersey, held a meeting where they were just absolutely furious. A professional magician named Fred Keating. He was a legitimate star. He performed at high-end nightclubs, very debonair.
Okay.
But the rumor circulating was that he was going to star in a movie that would expose the personal effects and secrets of Houdini.
And the Brotherhood was not having it.
They went nuclear. They passed a formal resolution. They called his potential actions a mess of pottage.
A mess of pottage. That is biblical shade.
It basically means selling your birthright for a cheap meal. They called it a personal disgrace and voted to send a letter of wholehearted disapproval.
It seems intense to us. It's just a movie. But I guess if you think magic is a sacred art, then Keating is a heretic.
Exactly. If the audience knows how the trick is done, the wonder evaporates. And since their self-worth was tied to being the keepers of wonder, Keating was threatening their very identity.
Selling them out for a Hollywood paycheck.
That's how they saw it.
But then you have the flip side. They took the code of ethics seriously, but they also knew how to laugh at themselves. I laughed out loud reading the Out of the Hat column.
The parody section. This is so important because it shows they weren't just stuffy traditionalists.
Yes. They invent this fake organization called the BUM.
The Brotherhood of Useless Magicians.
Which is a clear play on the IBM. And they have a magazine called The Blast, mocking their own newsletter.
It's very meta humor for 1934.
The goals of the BUM are hilarious. Our mark is 5,000 members by 1989.
Picking a date 55 years in the future is such a specific kind of absurdity. It's mocking the grand ambitions of the main organization.
And the reviews. They have a reviewer listed as, "That's me too."
That's great.
It's poking fun at the ego of these performers. Everyone wants to be the star. Everyone wants to be the critic.
It shows a healthy culture. They could be pompous about exposure, but they could also admit that at the end of the day, they were grown men playing with rabbits and silk handkerchiefs.
It keeps them grounded.
It does.
Now, we've covered the fun, the food, the travel, and the fights. But there's one last element in these newsletters that I think is the most important. It's the obituaries.
In 1934, death was a much closer companion. Life expectancy was lower, medical care wasn't what it is today, and the way they wrote about their fallen members is incredibly moving.
There's a tribute to a man named Herman Sanford Payne. He wasn't a famous performer like Uncle John. He was a CPA from Illinois.
A cost accountant. He wrote books on accounting, but his soul was in magic. He built a mail-order magic business on the side from Downers Grove.
The eulogy describes his philosophy of life. It says his goal was to be cheerful under all circumstances and to lend a helping hand, especially to boys.
Cheerful under all circumstances. Think about that phrase in the context of the Great Depression. That is a heavy lift.
It's a daily struggle.
Right. It suggests that for Payne, magic wasn't about fooling people. It was about generating cheer. It was a service to the community.
And then you have the story of Foster Lardner. This is one of those stories that just stops you in your tracks.
It's cinematic.
It is. Foster Lardner was performing in Providence, Rhode Island. He had been into magic for 44 years. The report says he finished his show.
Walked into the wings.
And dropped dead.
Literally died with his boots on. Or his cape on.
It reinforces that theme we saw with the Woonsocket convention. The show must go on.
Yeah.
He finished the set. He didn't stop until the curtain was down.
It's tragic, but the newsletter frames it almost as a victory. He died doing the thing he loved most.
Right.
It validates the life choices of everyone reading the newsletter. It says, yes, this obsession is worth it. It's worth doing until your very last breath. It elevates the hobby to a calling.
So when you step back and look at this stack of paper from 1934, the multicolored welcomes, the mess of pottage, the 15 years of corn, and the guys driving through the ring.
Yeah.
What is the big takeaway for you?
What were they actually doing?
Yeah.
I think they were building a fortress. The world outside was chaotic. It was scary. Banks were failing. Dust storms were destroying farms. Fascism was rising in Europe.
But inside the ring, the rules were clear.
Mm-hmm. If you practiced, you could master the impossible. If you were polite, you're a gentleman.
Right.
If you showed up, you got fed.
It was a controlled reality.
Yeah.
A pocket universe where things made sense.
Exactly. They used magic to reclaim a sense of agency that the economy had taken away from them. They couldn't control the stock market, but they could control a deck of cards.
For me, the thing that sticks is that phrase from the Ohio Valley Ring report. I think it sums up the entire year of 1934 better than any history book.
Which one?
Hard to borrow money, easy to borrow trouble.
That hits home.
It's such a stoic American acknowledgement of the difficulty. Money was gone, trouble was everywhere. But these guys, these real sports, they decided that if they couldn't borrow money and they didn't want to borrow trouble, they would just manufacture a little bit of magic instead.
And ensured that the show went on.
That's it for this deep dive into the hidden world of 1934. Thanks for listening.